Safiyya, thank you so much for joining me on the Beauty Truth podcast. It is such an honour that you came all the way from Birmingham to Dublin just to have this conversation with me. So thank you so much. Did you have a ball in Dublin last night?
Oh my gosh. Let me start off by saying thank you so much for inviting me over here. To have got the message from my agents to come over and join you over here and see Dublin has been incredible. So I just want to start off by saying thank you to you.
No,
You've made
my
it
pleasure.
so comfortable. You've been so welcoming, and yeah, the experience, we're going to unfold into that right now.
So I think you need to tell everyone, because anyone who's from Dublin, right, I was explaining this to you. After a night out in town, we all end up in Charlie's. And you ended up in Charlie's last night.
How did we end up in Charlie's?
I can't believe, you had like a proper Dublin night last night.
Yeah, so I came over with my friend Abby, and basically we kind of started the day of just going round Dublin. We ended up in a restaurant called Pink, which was so beautiful, and started the cocktails there. And we was actually figuring out, what do we do in Dublin? And the answer that kept going on repeat was, when you're in Dublin, you need to drink.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, oh my God, it's Monday afternoon. Like, isn't this
hopping?
And like, what? We start drinking now. So me and Abby was like, okay, let's do this. We're gonna do this. Okay. Like, I never do day drinking.
It's all we do here. When we're not in work, that's what we're doing.
Literally. So I thought, you know what? Let me embrace the culture and go for this. So yeah, we started drinking at like 1 PM.
And you end up in Cafe on Seine.
Yeah, which was amazing. We had such a nice experience. I think to be with my friend, and it's not a normal thing that I would do. So the fact that we're out of our comfort zone and yeah, just kind of YOLO a little bit. And, you know,
that's what I said to you. I was like, if you can come for the 2 days, enjoy Dublin. Like, it would have been absolutely shite if you only came in, recorded the podcast and left and had never been here.
Yeah.
And
so, I mean, we was clanging glasses. We was
baby Guinness as
porn
well.
star martinis, baby Guinness. We had some like,
I don't know how you're here.
I mean, I don't actually know, but listen, the fresh air of Dublin did as well, because we ended up, like you say, at a place called Charlie's. And honestly, I don't know how we ended up there. I mean, Ab said that she Googled the hot spot to be.
That's so funny.
So, I mean, we were sat there, Chinese, nice egg fried rice, curry sauce, and yeah, a few slurry words and absolute hysterics on the way to the room. Yeah, we had some water, made sure we was fresh, ready for you today.
Love it. I love it. Well, I'm delighted that you got to spend at least the full day and a little bit of today in Dublin. Because as I said, it would have been shite. And like I was explaining to you yesterday, I would have travelled with work the way you would travel. And sometimes you're in places and it sounds really glamorous, but you're in and out. Yeah, and you don't actually get to enjoy it. So I'm so glad that we welcomed you with warm alcoholic arms.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that was a push, actually. Do you know, like when you actually feel like it was a wrong thing to do? It actually felt wrong drinking on a Monday. Like Monday, we should be going back to the gym again, drinking water on our regimes, and me and Abby around here just
once off. A
one-off. Yeah, exactly.
So I obviously had gotten in touch. You'd mentioned with your agent had got in touch. And I, from experience of doing the podcast, I would contact loads of people. And someone with 1 million followers in Ireland doesn't get back to me, but you did. And I just wanted to say that after spending some time with you yesterday as well, it just really shows like how humble you are and how you're really willing to, you've got a message that you want to deliver, and you'll take any means at doing that. And I love that. And I'm so honoured that you're here because, of course, we're here to talk about your beautiful, beautiful baby girl that you lost in 2021, Azaylia. And I want to start by saying how sorry I am. I remember the day where I really connected with you. You know the way we follow one another on social media, and I don't know about you, but sometimes you follow it so much, this person's story, that you actually feel like you know them. And I remember my mum was passing of cancer at the same time. And I remember, I don't know who it was, but someone was like, oh, you need to follow this girl, Saf, follow her journey. And I remember actually the day where I was lying on the side of my bed, I had no curtains up at the time. That's how I can remember like the temperature in the room. I remember the whole day, and I was crying with you. And I think so, like, globally, the world was with you and Ashley on that journey. So I wanted for you to come and share your story, and then also to share the story of the foundation as well, because that's what you're working on now, and the work you're doing is incredible. So I really, really want to say that I know it's not easy to have these conversations. And I even heard you on Marilyn's podcast, she even mentioned it's so difficult to repeat these conversations when it's your trauma. So I greatly, greatly appreciate you being here today.
Mm-hmm.
So when I thought about this conversation and how I wanted to start it, I suppose because I'm in grief as well, and everything that you've been through, I suppose my first question to you is, how have you survived and are now thriving? And I use the word survive because I know in my grief, especially in this early time, it is about surviving. That's what it is. It sounds like quite dramatic, but that's what it is about. And how have you done it and still doing it and so graciously?
Yeah, I take a deep breath before I speak there, because firstly, I'm so sorry about your mum.
Thank you.
And everything that you just shared there. As I'm sitting across you, looking at you, I'm like, got gulps in my
I was
throat.
crying yesterday.
My eyes are filling.
Over that coffee, I was like, oh, this is going to be tough.
My eyes are just filling automatically, just because it's that pain. And like you say, survival. How do I survive? Really, it's the purpose that I have now, which keeps me surviving through having the Azaylia Foundation. It keeps me here. Going through the journey and losing Azaylia has been a journey that no parent should ever, ever have to experience. And for me, I feel like everybody deals with grief and trauma in multiple ways. One thing that helped me in hospital, watching my daughter go through extreme chemotherapy treatments and being diagnosed, having multiple sedation treatments, and just going through her journey and battling childhood cancer was just traumatic on its own. The one thing that allowed me to stay focused was always continuing to put a smile on Azaylia's face. So when you've had to teach yourself from the start of initial trauma and shock, how do I cope? What do I do? I want to fall apart. You don't have time to fall apart. When it's your child, you have to put all that armor on. And even though Azaylia was only 8 weeks old when she was diagnosed, for me, it was about sensory. Babies feel emotions and feelings around them. Smells, lights, touch, warmth, cold. They feel all of this kind of emotion. So the only thing that we could do as parents, for me and Ashley, was to always give Azaylia warmth, light, protection, and a smiley face. And that's all I wanted to, that's all I was allowed to do, because I wasn't in control of anything else. So it came from a very early stage of being a mother, of how do I protect my daughter in a traumatic situation? What can I do the best of? So continuing that journey was always, we called it Club 100. It's like every time we went into a room with Azaylia, me and Ashley, it was Club 100. So we'd always have sensory lights going on. She'd always have a smiley face. We'd be playing music. We'd be singing to her. We'd be playing with all of her toys. We would call that room Club 100.
I love that.
So it was a place. So when me and Ashley would swap, I would cry. I would let my emotions out. I'd get angry. I'd get frustrated. I'd do all of that out of that room. And because it was COVID, we had to swap over. So it was one at a time swapping over. We could never be in the room at the same time.
What?
Because it was COVID. Honestly, it was like the most difficult thing to do. So yeah.
So while Azaylia was in hospital, they would only allow one of
parent at a time.
And at any time in the journey, did they change that rule?
No, only on Christmas Day we could have an hour together.
What? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Well, to me,
do you know
that
what?
Doesn't make
if you're going to let
sense.
somebody in for an hour, and we're watching our daughter fight for her life, I know.
It's inhumane.
But we followed the rules. It was COVID. We followed the rules. We did everything that we could to protect Azaylia, and that's what it was. And we would do that all over again.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. So yeah, basically it come to that point then where I'd be over at the hospital, then we'd come back into that room. So I was kind of programmed. There is a point to your question here. I was kind of programmed from a very early stage of motherhood to be a certain kind of way. And as that journey progressed and Azaylia would decline and incline, she would always show such radiance. She would always be smiling. She would always be laughing, and they would tell me that she wouldn't be able to sit up or she wouldn't be able to eat for chemotherapy. And obviously once she gets to certain ages, I wanted to start feeding her and letting her taste food. I didn't want her just to be fed through her nose. I wanted to experience taste.
Yeah.
And all the odds were against Azaylia. And for me as a mother, of having all of this time and Ashley as a father, it was important to us to continue to give Azaylia those things that a normal baby would be having at home. We was just in a hospital. So suddenly it come to a point where it felt normal as being in hospital, as swapping over, Azaylia having chemotherapy and medicine and Oromorph, which is a painkiller. All of this became normal to us. So then it was just playtime. I was just being a mom and playing with my daughter. And when Azaylia would just show smiles and radiance, she would get put to sleep to have a central line put in, or she'd be having a bone marrow aspiration where they take the fluid from the spine to check the leukemia and how it's kind of migrating in the body. And when they're taking these things, Azaylia's been put to sleep. And now I had to hold my baby while she had, oh God, it makes me feel sad.
Take your time. Honestly, take your time. It's so difficult. And actually, what you're talking about in terms of being normal, I completely and utterly understand.
I got this. So she'd have a gas and air put on her. Even when she was having a gas and air, she would always be smiling, or she'd have this face, or I would be so protective that I would be wafting the gas and air over her face first, just to make her more like unconscious, because obviously that's what it does. It's sedation, and then allow them to like she'd get fully sedated to have a bone marrow aspiration. But as soon as I'd be always in the next room, I mean, as soon as I would hear that she's come out, I'd be straight in a room waiting for her to wake up in recovery. And the first day I went in and one of her bone marrow aspirations, sorry, not the first day, one of her bone marrow aspirations, when she woke up out of that, she literally looked at me and her face was so bright and smiley. This tattoo here was that day, the moment, because I was recording her and taking pictures to send to the family to say like, oh, okay, she's just come out now, you know, updating everybody. And this was her face, how she woke up when she come out. So this is the reason why I had that picture tattooed to me, because that shows the strength and the bravery that she fought. So,
and she really did.
Yeah.
Because like you'd said, like, I remember following the story and you gave such detail over social media, like that, you know, the odds were stacked against her, and every time you'd kind of come around with, you know, a little bit of good news, you know.
And it's and this what brings me to your answer, as going through that and taking them steps and them journeys and watching her wake up out of sedation with the biggest smile on her face. She showed nothing but bravery. She was fearless. She didn't know what was going on around her, but through cannulas in her hand, central lines, having an NG fitted, getting put to sleep, waking up, I watched my little girl go through that. So she taught me strength. She taught me bravery. She taught me how to be fearless. She taught me not to be scared. She taught me all of these things as a woman that I am now, is the reason why I can continue, because of everything she taught me. So that struggle and that strength is because of her, I can continue. Azaylia got over 80,000 people on the bone marrow register in one weekend. She needed a bone marrow transplant, and because of her ethnic background, through me and Ashley, there is small amounts of people on the bone marrow register. So in one weekend, there was over 80,000 people that registered because of Azaylia. Now, that's hundreds of thousands of people that have potentially life-saving treatment out there now because of Azaylia. And she came to this earth for me as somebody who has taught us inclusivity, taught us to support one another, brought humanity back into the front force of my mind. And she is making a change for all the other children and parents. And if I didn't have that strength through everything she taught me, I now wouldn't be able to continue her legacy of what she came here on earth to do.
Yeah.
So I have no weakness in me to not do that. Like, that's my purpose in life. I know she's watching down on me. I know we will be together on the other side. For me, this life is temporary. We're here for a short period of time. What message my daughter has gave a bigger message in 8 months of her life than I have in a whole lifetime of being 35. So you can be on earth doing something, and for me, it's giving back. And Azaylia taught me how to bring everybody together. She taught me courage. She taught me not to give up. Even when every single odd was against her, she showed me not to give up. Nobody can rock you. Nobody can nudge you. And she taught me that when we needed to get treatment abroad in Singapore, we wasn't initially offered that. That was due diligence and homework and severe desperation through me and Ashley as parents. Now, basically, you just get told, sorry, there's nothing that we can do for you anymore. Here is end of life care. See you later. Absolutely was not working for us. Not good enough. Sorry, we're in this world now where everything can work, right? We're advanced in everything. Like, for me, it was like we needed to exhaust everything. So at that point of being told you need to go home on end of life care, it's like, are you fucking serious? Like, this is my daughter's life. Me and Ashley, it was just like, and this is why we say Azaylia like represents a lion. She loved the Lion King. She had a Simba and Nala. She'd always be growling. She showed every sign of a lion. She was a Leo, and yeah, she showed that strength. And for us, it was like, no, we're gonna keep fighting. But why, as a parent that's being sent home, are we then still trying to fight for more treatment? Then we found Singapore, and that was an option. Unfortunately, Azaylia's leukemia spiraled out of control, which ended up making her so poorly that we couldn't get over to Singapore, because with cancer, it can spiral within 24 hours. And your body can really, really change within 24 hours. And although we got the yes, by the time the bloods got then over to Singapore and we was getting Azaylia's passport to get over to Singapore, the tests that they was then doing in the labs, it was just all relapsing and there was nothing then that they could do. So at that point, we then got the call to say, there's nothing that we can do. You need to go end of life care. And when you're at that point of end of life, which you know yourself well, then it's scary. I used to have these nurses coming into my house. And for me, it was so numb and so surreal that I actually felt like it was, I know this is really weird, but it was like Halloween, like as if these...
it's not real. Like
I had these like people coming into my house and they're sitting there telling me how, like, we need to make her comfortable. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean make her comfortable? Like all of these words, like, sorry, what do you mean make her comfortable? Like, we need to give her medicine to make her better. What do you mean comfortable? Like, she's comfortable, she's lying there, she needs help.
Yeah, because I think, isn't it like your natural, just as human beings, like your natural response, you know, if you fall, you pick yourself back up. If you're sick, you give medicine. And when you fight, because I mean, you know, we had raised, I was telling you yesterday, like we were in a similar situation in the sense of we needed care outside of Ireland, which I don't know about you, and I could do a whole separate podcast on it, but it fucking frustrates the life out of me that we have to go outside of first world countries like Ireland and the UK to receive care that exists in the world but doesn't exist in our countries. It's insane. And we were quite like that. You know, my mom was given kind of like, go home palliative care, and we were like, no. So we went to Germany and she did do the treatment, and it gave her like, you know, a year plus that we didn't have. But in saying that, there is something so odd about when it does come to palliative care and end of life care. I used to be like I'd be like, Mom, like, stop. I remember one day being like, no, don't give her any more like Valium or Xanax. Like, I was like, no, that's making her like really loopy.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, like, we're just making her comfortable. And I was like, no, but I can't talk to her then.
Yeah.
And being like so frustrated.
Yeah. I totally feel that.
You know, you're like, no, like you want to be like body marking people, being like, no, like, don't.
You know her well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to keep speaking to her and like to
the fight, like
it's that fight that's still in you, that's been fighting for so long, and it's having that strength to keep going. You don't realise you've actually got so much strength as you keep going. You don't realise. You don't realise how strong you're actually being, because they're actually the ones that are keeping you going while they're here. And this is like the next thing. It's like such a long answer in how do you cope? How do you still survive? How do you still stay strong today? Because, or how and what are you doing? Because it stems from the build-up constantly of the whole journey that you've had to go through. And they're the ones that are actually keeping you strong. And the moment that they pass, you literally feel empty, numb. For me, empty, numb, just numb. Never felt so numb in my life. Never, it's one of those things where, for me, Azaylia was keeping me strong. She was keeping me sane, because I had to be on the ball thinking, you know, what does she need? What is everything you need? But when you lose a child, or you lose anybody that's close to you, family member, friend, anybody that's close, it then goes into another journey. So I feel like there's been chapters. And for me, I wrote my book, Loving and Losing You, Azaylia. And when I wrote that felt like my therapy. And it was somewhere where I could pour my pain into. I had people around me, but everybody was, it was like I was just numb to feeling anymore. Like
Yeah.
it was so numb, but I just needed to get all of this off my chest. I needed to get it out somewhere. And for me, writing a book, and obviously not everybody gets that opportunity to write a book, but if anybody out there that is listening, even just can write a diary, it helps you just get it off your chest.
Yeah,
and
completely.
You're then in another chapter. So for me, it's then holding that first chapter and that strength that I had to hold there and learning how do I carry all of that into my next chapter. But then my next chapter, I felt like I was walking on water. I felt like I was chained and crippled with anxiety. Like I didn't know where to pour all this energy into. Like for me, when Azaylia passed, I was always going down to where they kept her before it was Azaylia's day. And now I change words. And so many people have taken this. So many moms that have lost children now or family members have started to call it this, and it pops up on my social media. And I find comfort by that because when Azaylia passed, there is another word that people use beginning with D, which I don't say, where I don't use that word because it triggers. I found it was triggering. Anybody that was saying it around me, I felt like I was going to be really angry with what they were saying, because in my mind, I started programming myself differently to say, nobody around me says that word unless you don't know me and you say it, I correct you. We pass to another side. So it's then looking at when you're passing to the other side and you're no longer here, where do we go? What do we do? What's all this stuff that's going on? Like, where do you put your mind into a place of like sanity? And for me, it would be we pass. Our bodies are tired. We pass to another side. Azaylia's resting place, I call it Azaylia's garden because it's where the most beautiful person that's ever graced my life is. And a garden is somewhere where people go to grow flowers and beauty and see and smell nice, pretty things. And
it's peaceful. There's something very, even when you share that on your social media, you can tell even through the camera that it's a place of peace.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I find that, like, for me, it was one of those things where Azaylia, she's a baby. She wanted toys. So that's why I'm always changing. Like when we was in hospital at a resting place, I had a family member literally last week where we had another day of rest. And I remember speaking to her and saying, she was like, what do I do? Like my mom and, you know, X, Y, and Z, what do I do in my head? And I sat with her for about a good hour and I said, you know, you're used to going to see her. Then now put that energy into her garden. You know, that energy where you feel lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Her mum liked lights. For me, Azaylia, I always surrounded her with lights in hospital, sensory things. So I still surround her garden with the same thing. I get solar lights from Amazon. This is not a plug. But I get like solar lights. Like if I'm in Asda, I was crippled with anxiety to the point where it would take me over 45 minutes to get out of the car to go and do a shop in Asda. And that was because I was triggered by baby food, nappies, stuff that was around me that I was seeing to do with babies. It would be like, normally I'd want to just go and pick it up because I like to have some ready for Azaylia, do you know, like before she was born and I was in the shops and things like that, I'd be picking them up, or that's what I'd be usually going down that aisle for.
And how did you overcome that? Because that is, I know from, you know, like even just other podcasts or people in my life who have lost children, it's that trigger of being again around children and going shopping and there being all of those things. That's a real life aftermath of losing a child. How are you okay with that now?
I'm not okay with it. It's just something I have to live with. And I overcome it initially by just sitting in the car. My first step was just sitting in the car park and visualizing me going in, and I knew where the aisles were, which would trigger me. But then it was really silly because on a little thing like when I was a kid, I'd want to sit in the trolley and be pushed around. And like I used to want to pull the bread off the French bread and do those little things. And that's what I had in my head with Azaylia. Like I can't wait to put her in the thing and she can go around. So just all of this started pouring into me. So it would only be somebody getting a trolley and putting their child in the trolley that would trigger me. And I would walk back to the car. I'd be like, I can't, like, how am I going to do that? Then I might even drive away and think I can't do it. And then I'd ask someone to get my shopping. Then I started building up and started to block things out. I would go into the supermarket. I would look down or look at my phone. So I'd be on my phone, walking around, looking down. And then because it's a supermarket that I've been to, like from my area for such a long time, I knew where things were kind of.
Yeah, you had an idea.
So then I'd like go into the vegetable section and then I know like the salad's over that side, the veggies over that side. I'd pick that up and then I'd be back on my phone again. And then I'd look up when I'd get to kind of the area. It's really strange.
Yeah.
And then I would just get a couple of things and then go and check out. And then gradually I'd get more and more and more. And it's like a build-up. But it took me over a year to get there. And on my socials, it was like I would share it because there was nobody out there that would share anything like that on their social. And for me, this was everyday living. Like, how do you pick a phone up and record yourself in that moment of panic and trauma and desperation? But if nobody's sharing it out there, how is it going to help somebody else? And for me, what helps me is helping others. And I've figured that out just recently. Where do I get calmness? I get calmness through helping others. How do I be around children? Now, I'm doing Wear Orange for Azaylia with Azaylia's Foundation. And Ashley does challenges incredibly. He goes from one side of the country to the other. He does all of these.
He ran the length of Ireland, literally.
This guy has so much purpose to help children, and for me, it was difficult. I was struggling with this. I was struggling in a way where I didn't know where to turn my pain. Ashley knew initially where he was putting his pain, like exercise for him is just somewhere where he turns to. And for me, I didn't know. I was just crippled. I seen a picture where it was like really heavy chains around a person. And I looked at that picture and I thought, oh my God, that is me. That is exactly how I feel. How the hell do I stand up with these heavy chains on me and get out the door? And for me, it took a while and I was getting frustrated with myself. Like, come on, like you need to think of where you're going to turn your pain into. Like, otherwise, what am I doing here? I don't want to be here anymore. And I was fighting and battling with the fact that I didn't want to be on this earth anymore. I don't think, do you know what? Fuck this. I'm out, basically. I don't want to be here anymore. But it was multiple times of looking and thinking, you know, Azaylia fought for her life. Why am I gonna take my own life when my daughter was fighting for hers? So then I found my place eventually last year of children trigger me, and I find it hard to interact with children. I have my nephew, I have a goddaughter and another nephew, and for me, it was difficult because I wanted to see my nieces and nephews interact with Azaylia. So then when I was playing with them, it would hurt me that Azaylia weren't there playing with them. So even things like that were huge triggers because it's not that I don't want to play with my.
Oh no, of course.
Thing. It's just that I can't. We was meant to be doing this. So that was difficult.
And I totally get that because I remember even like friends throughout the year being like, oh, come out with like me, my mom, and some, or like when I do a wedding in the first couple of weddings, and even sometimes now, some people have these incredible bonds with their mom. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. Like, you're in the moment and you're like, and obviously it's work. So I'm like, woohoo, happy wedding day. But I can only imagine, you know, how difficult that has been.
Yeah. And then it was like turning that pain into purpose. I sat there curled up looking like absolute crap nearly every single day. I lost my identity, and
It's okay, take your time.
I think that's the first time I've actually said that. I lost my identity as a woman. Before I had Azaylia, I was very confident. And being catapulted into the public eye through trauma and this journey, I didn't know myself. And I have incredible community support that are constantly coming over, like talking to me about Azaylia, which is phenomenal because of the community. That's what helped us try and get to Singapore. Everybody invested, helped get the bone marrow, the register on the bone marrow. But when I lost my identity, I just felt like a shadow of myself. So it's taken so much out of me to think, who am I now? Who was I before? What do I want to do in this world? What do I need to do? How do I help? Like, my head was scrambled. Even like after you give birth to your child, your body changes, your image changes, your mindset changes of what you see life. And now it was like, okay, I came up with the Wear Orange for Azaylia. And I just thought, you know, children are struggling daily from ethnic backgrounds, whether they're got straight hair, curly hair, whether they speak different languages, whether their family speak differently. And I wanted to go into schools and have a dual purpose. I wanted children to have mutual support, inclusivity, and support with each other. And I wanted the teachers and parents to have the understanding of the systemic issues around childhood cancer, and that the fact that childhood cancer is the biggest killer of children in the UK and receives less than 3% of funding now.
Yeah, which we've talked about, which is just insane. And like I said, I did a lot of research, and if anyone who's listening can tell me the exact figure, but I couldn't find the percentage from the HSE and what we give in Ireland. I did find the US was only 4% as well. So obviously globally, like, they are such low figures. Like, when you're talking 4% of billions, that's nothing. Absolutely nothing. And yeah, you know, like, their children, like they depend on the adults to make the decisions in order for them to be able to fight, you know, childhood cancer, which is just insane. And I mean, did you know that information when you were in hospital with Azaylia?
Absolutely not. That's the shocking thing about it. As a parent and walking that journey, the responsibility that I now have, which I'm happy to have, I want to hold this responsibility. I treasure it and take it very seriously. To know that there's less than 3% of funding in childhood cancer is shocking. 97% of cancer research goes to adults' cancer. Now, new talent that's coming, where are they going to choose? They're going to choose the 97%. And who's going to go to the less than 3%? But these children need us. They need our help. They need our support.
Yeah, they need specialised doctors, nurses, you know,
and without that
radiologists.
education, where are they going to get it? I mean, that's why the Azaylia Foundation, we are building a network where institutions come together. We've now got PhDs where people can advance their education and bring new talent to the UK.
Which is an incredible part of the foundation that I didn't realise until I spoke to you myself that you were doing, because it makes perfect sense. You, in order as well, like, okay, 3% is extremely low, but the people that are working within that 3%, you want them to be the best of the best. And nobody, you know, no, like you said, like no nurse is going to say, I'm going to work in that department. There's no money in that department. You know, like when they're thinking of it just as a career.
Yeah.
You know, without the human side of it, you know, that's what people do. They go to college for all these years. They decide, I'm going to go into the area that's got all the money. I'm going to make it big, you know. So it is an amazing initiative that the foundation are going to work on getting talent into that department.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's incredible.
I mean, the fact that in such a short time, just over a year now, we've donated to multiple children for treatment that's not available on the NHS, individual treatments that we've donated to. We brought new equipment into medical institutions, research. We funded so much. I mean, it's just a drop in the ocean right now. And to raise that awareness through the UK's, which I'm doing the non-uniform days for, and Ashley's doing his challenges and the foundation's working hard together. It's like, I want this to unfold into Ireland, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it could be a place where we do non-uniform days in Ireland to support children with cancer and we're funding, it's about a network.
Yeah.
And if we all work together, we're so much more powerful. And so many people have gone through a journey. And like you, it's a different journey to me. But we experience and share the same pain. And I know so many people will be listening out there that probably feel lonely or don't know where to pour their pain into. And you just think, be a part of a network, find a team, find something, find a purpose. If there's something that's affecting you, you can just channel it in and just take your time though. And I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and to be kind to yourself, I think is really important, because I would have been like, when I think of, even when I started the podcast back last year, it was brilliant and I'm really happy with how it went and that's great. But I was like, also like not being kind enough to myself. I felt like I had to like jump back into life straight away, be the best in everything that I'm doing. And like, it's so fucking tough. Like grief is debilitating. You're not yourself. You're finding yourself. Like I got to a point where I was like, I don't even know what my opinion is on anything anymore. You know, if I was in a conversation with people and they're talking about something, I was like, I don't even know, because I don't really care. You know, and now I'm only starting to kind of understand, after I did the episode with Caroline Foran on owning it, and I saw the response that people got to me speaking very bluntly about grief, that I'm like, yeah, no, I'm starting to feel like where my purpose falls as well, you know, and I'm going to be really picky and choosy with who comes on here and the conversations I have now, because I'm starting to feel like me again.
Knowing your own area.
Yeah.
Once you know your own area, it's like trial and error. And although when you say like having conversations, for me, I could totally relate to that. Everything was just like, yeah.
Yeah, don't care.
and it's really like you actually feel really rude, but I feel like there's a pressure. And I think having so many people watch Azaylia's journey and love Azaylia like they knew her. For me, it's like I love everybody that, because you love my daughter and invested in my daughter. So when people stop me and want to speak or just give me a nod or just give me a hey, it's so, I feel it in my heart because it's my daughter that you're giving me a nod to. I just feel like for me, I'm walking the shoes that she's unable to walk in now. And the Azaylia Foundation is like people watch their children grow up, go into school, go uni, get married, do all this stuff. For me, I'm not going to have that. So the foundation for me is watching my daughter grow. So, and then beyond my years and not being here, I want it to then go into next generations. So it's not here temporary. I feel like the Azaylia Foundation is here for good and to bring a lot of networks together, to make that change.
Absolutely. And you talk a lot about like the law of attraction. And I did remember noticing that on, I think it was Azaylia's first birthday, was like National Lion Day. Now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like, for me anyway, you were probably more like spiritual, before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't have been massively spiritual, that's being honest with you. But stuff like that gives me like goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, that is not a coincidence. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and you even, I heard you say in a podcast, you came down the stairs the day
Azaylia
passed, and you said today is the day, and you just had, you've definitely got a stronger spiritual connection, being way more than I do. I struggle actually with that side of grief. Like, people are like, do you feel your mom with you? And at the moment, in total honesty, because I promised, when I started this podcast, I would be, be brutally honest, and I don't.
Yeah.
And it kills me at the moment. I'm hoping that will change in my future life. But you seem to just have this incredible spiritualness. Like, where does that come from?
Okay, so it's really funny. Let's touch on the Lions Day first. Because when Azaylia, while I was pregnant and thinking of a name to give to Azaylia, I mean, it was always back and forward. Like, me and Ashley I'd be like, no. Like, we had boys' names because I don't know why I thought that I was having a boy. Okay. I just really don't know. But Ashley had names that he wanted to call the boy. And then when we had the scan, so the day of the scan, and this is where it's just crazy. On the day of the scan, one of the roads was blocked off. Now, we had to find a different route round to go to a scan. On the route round to the scan, I seen a pink balloon fly in front of my car. And Ashley, because this is me, everyone always rolls their eyes at me or whatever it is. Like my brother, because he's like totally not spiritual. Like, he just looks at me like I'm cuckoo. So, and Ashley would look at me the same, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's a sign. So the pink balloon went past the car. And then I literally looked at him and I was like, it's a girl. Like literally, that's a sign. Do you know?
Yeah,
it was a sign. Anyway, cut a long story short, obviously, it was a girl.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always, it was a crazy thing, because then we was choosing names and going back and forward we didn't have girls' names. And Ashley, I mean, I just give it to him. I've spoken about it. I found the name Azaylia, right?
Okay.
But so did he. Okay.
You
know what I mean?
We'll
say
give
no
him
more. Okay.
Yeah.
But
give him a percentage.
I was always constantly looking on my phone at names, and my friends, I'd be asking them, what websites did you find this, that, and the other. Anyway, he wanted Azaylia's middle name as Lion. This is before, while I was pregnant.
Yeah.
He wanted it as Azaylia Lion Cain. I was like, absolutely not. Like, my daughter is not having Lion as a middle name, because he's known as Beast, and, that's his thing. Lion, obviously, she was a Leo because she was going to be born in August. I don't know what it was, but he just wanted a lion.
Okay.
Anyway, it didn't happen. So the fact that it was on Lion's Day, do you know?
Yeah.
Then it was like
goosebumps, like when I read that.
Yeah,
like,
and then Azaylia, known as like the little lion, the Azaylia Foundation, the logo is the lion.
Yeah.
So like how that kind of molds together.
Yeah. Because the reason why it gave me such like, oh my God, is because so when Avery was born, my mom came into the hospital and she was like, oh, my little birdie, right? But we were all like, what? Like, we've nothing got to do with like, there's no relevance. Like, it was really random. And we were like, I was like, Ma, will you stop calling her that? She's like, no, she's my little birdie. And then when my mom passed, about, I'm going to say, not even 2 days later, at my back door, there was this bird. It's called a black-caped chickadee or something. I don't know the name of it. But a couple of friends came in and they were like, that bird has not left your back door. And I was like, yeah, it has. Like, I mean, like, it didn't. Like, it kind of just kept walking around. It didn't fly off. It just stayed there. And then that bird now, whenever I say, like, oh, please, I need a sign or I need something. And then for months, for really the whole year after, every time I walked into my front garden, that bird was in my front garden. It was in my back garden. I went to a wedding one day and I cried the whole way with anxiety, being like, how am I going to do this? And when I got out of my car in the arsehole of Ireland, like in the middle of nowhere, the bird was there. And a couple of friends have been with me because I've told them the story and they're like, oh my God, like there's the bird. Yeah. And I just was like, and she called her Birdie and it's like, and it was random. And then this bird, and it's just, and then Avery's name is Avery, which is a house for birds. Yeah. So I just was like, when I read that, I really, because I felt the same way in my sense, but I am envious of your connection.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what it is? It's like when I used to walk over to the hospital, I used to see this sign. In the hospital, it'd be like, after the storm comes the rainbow. So there's a rainbow. And I kept walking over from the hotel to the hospital when we'd swap. And I'd be like, why do I never see the rainbow? And I'd walk over, my coat up, and it's like freezing cold, and I'm like walking over to change over. And I used to come out through this car park, through like an underground, then out into the open, then back into the hospital. And when I get to the opening and it'd be raining, I'd be like, please, like law of attraction, do you know, like, please, I need to see the rainbow, like give me the rainbow, like why am I not seeing it? And then in the hospital, there's rainbows everywhere, and I'm like, I need to see the rainbow. Now, I didn't see the rainbow until Azaylia passed. Now, there was no rainbows. I hadn't seen rainbows in bloody years. And then I got rainbows. But I didn't get rainbows. I mean, I would walk out my door.
Oh, yeah, they were on your doorstep.
Out of my house. Yes.
Like, yeah.
I would walk out and I'm telling you, like, I've never seen rain. And I weren't getting just rainbows. I was getting double rainbows. Outside of my door, to the right-hand side, I would be getting double rainbows. You know where you can see like the purple colour and the orange, and you can see the colours and the vibrancy and the energy. Because remember, Azaylia, it's all about the energy. It's all about the sensory, the lighting, the smells, the touch, the feel. It was all about how we connected energy, because she couldn't speak to me. So we connect with energy and how we treat each other. And it was like a message from the universe to say, here, Safiyya, here's your rainbow. Here's the energy. This is my sign to say, I'm with you. The orange skies. Orange is a sign of leukemia. So we wear orange because orange represents leukemia. Now the skies were just piercing orange with rainbows.
Yeah, because on your social media, like it was nearly like you can't make this up.
Yeah.
Like it was incredible. And I think it's a part of your journey that people really connected with because it was so...
It was like I was showing you with visuals.
With visual, yeah, so exactly. It was just a story.
It was blowing me away at the same time as it was blowing the nation away.
Yeah.
With like, guys, I just came out, or I'd finish at Azaylia's and it would literally be like where Azaylia's resting place is, the brightest orange sky would be just piercing. I'd be getting people sending me, as Azaylia was getting poorly and was on end of life care, we had Niagara Falls light up orange for her. We had monuments around the world lighting up orange for her while she was present with us on this earth. So that was her message back to us. Like, here's your orange skies. The world lit up orange for me. We had like the Burj Al Arab. You've got Niagara Falls. You've got these big things that are lighting up orange for Azaylia. Now, that was her way of going, bam, there you go. I'm still here, guys. This is the universe. I'm showing you that there's still life after.
It is insane. Like because as I said, I wouldn't be massively spiritual, but I was just like, how? Because you, like you said, it's not just a story. It's not listening to it on a podcast, you know, and hearing about it. Like you said, there were visuals. We were all, you know, living that with you. Did you find it hard to share so much on social? Because you like writing some of the things you wrote on social. I was like, how is she doing that? How?
So for me, I've always been, and I get asked this question, and I had to take some time to think about it because I really wanted to give a definitive answer on this because I didn't really know. So at first, when Azaylia was diagnosed, I wanted to hide away. I didn't want to tell anybody what was happening. I wanted to just get her better and then tell you after that, like, oh my God, like literally we had to go to hospital and this happened and she's better now, blah, blah, blah. Then it was Ashley that like sat with me and he said, right, I need to what did he say? He needed to tell his work people because obviously, but he needed to, he wanted
a lot of reality TV.
And so it was like for him just writing a message to all of these people in his WhatsApp, he didn't have that time or capacity to be able to message everybody individually. So social was quite good to kind of give a broadcast message.
Yeah.
So basically he sat with me and said, okay, are you okay with me doing this? Because I haven't got that capacity to be able to message everybody individually. And now at the time, at first I thought, oh God, like it triggered me. I thought, oh my God, like this is going to be all right. Like we don't need to tell everybody. And then, you know, I did. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine, obviously. And then I started embracing and thinking, do you know what? I'm that person that will take pictures of food while I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm that person, like if I'm just out somewhere and I'm with my friends and we're doing something silly, I do videos. So that's just me. That's my character. So parents are out there playing in the park with their children, filming them, having memories, taking their memories with them, going to theme parks, going to the zoo, going around to your auntie's house, going for dinners, spitting their food out because I don't like it anymore. And they share all of that on their socials. So why am I not doing the same just because my daughter's poorly? I'm proud of everything that she's doing. And like I said before, her diagnosis, it just became normal. This is my normal surrounding. So I'm really proud. Look at her. She's sitting up today. Look at her. She's smiling. Look at her after chemo. Like, look at her. I'm so proud as a mother that I wasn't seeing the illness. I was seeing her. So I wanted to share her beauty the same way I would be sharing her if we wasn't in hospital. I would be doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, although she was getting poorly, it was just like I was still seeing that smile. And I wanted to capture that smile. And for me, my following was smaller. So my following grew because it was so organic, so real. And like I say, my purpose wasn't to grow my following. My purpose was just to share her beautiful smile and how brave she was. And that's where it was catapulted into hundreds, thousands to millions. Do you know? Because it's realness of a mother and going through it. And it's unheard of. So when that question does get asked, I would do it all over again. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have the pictures, the videos, the memories, the reels, the incredible stuff that the community put together, the portraits, the paintings, all of this stuff that got sent to my home for memories that I've now got of my daughter. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be saturated with memories consistently. Yeah. And I always tell anybody that's in hospital, do you know what? Even I've got pictures on my phone where I look terrible. But do you know what? It was my happiest but most painful time of my life the happiest because I got my daughter. I want to take pictures, but I'd take the pictures with her because I'd be like, we'd be both holding our foot, playing with our foot, and she'd be copying me. So I want to get that on video because if you was at home doing it,
yeah, you'd be doing the same.
You'd be doing the same.
Yeah.
It's just I am a very social person anyway. So for me, it wasn't at that time about helping others. I was just capturing special moments with my daughter and then giving people an insight of what actually does happen behind closed doors. And I'm glad that I did, because hundreds and hundreds of moms that were in that hospital when I was, they was stopping us when we were in the corridor and be like, oh my God, I'm so glad that you shared that. Like, people don't understand what we're going through. We're tucked away because childhood cancer is scary to talk about. Why are we tucked away? Why are we ignored? Why are we at the bottom of the pile without a voice? So to be the voice of the voiceless now, which is what I am, it's like, it's powerful. And having Azaylia as my backbone and her cells, when you lose a child, your child, or if you're a mother, your child's cells stay in your body. So now I feel like my cells are from my daughter that give me the strength. She lives on through me. And that's a scientific fact. So my daughter's with me. We're doing it together. That's what gives me strength.
I have to say, I'm actually lost for words, because your strength is unmatched, Saf. Like, it really and truly is. And it's why I really wanted, to have this conversation, because, like I said, I watched every detail of your journey, and it's not, how to say this, it's not, it comes from really an authentic feeling, will, strength, like you have built all this yourself. And you're doing incredible things, like the foundation, alone. But even without the foundation, being here and being able to talk about it, it helps people.
It does.
And writing your book, like, I can't imagine that was easy, because I know
that was really hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I had to relive all of that
all
moment,
that pain
in serious detail.
Because I remember when my mom was when she was passing, there was about a 3-week period we had when we kind of indefinitely knew what the outcome was going to be. Because I think before that, even though you don't want to know.
Yeah, you block it out.
Yeah, and I actually wrote like every feeling, every moment down in my phone, like in my notes, and I can't read them. And I mean, there's probably 30 or 40 pages worth of stuff there. I couldn't go back and read that now, and it's a year, it was a year in December, and I honestly, I couldn't read it yet. I'm not there. My mom also left us letters, and I'm like, haven't even read them. Like, I'm like, I can't do it. So I can that's why I'm like, I mean, from my gut, I'm genuinely in awe of your strength, because how you did that alone. Like, I mean, forget, as I said, everything else. If you just did that, like, that's incredible. How did you? What was that process like?
In what terms? What was it
like writing the book? Like, how did that come about? Did you? Because you wrote a diary while you were in.
Yeah, I wrote a diary while I was in hospital, and Penguin contacted me and asked me if I would share my journey as a mother. And for me, I kind of had a conversation with Nikki, which is a very, very close friend of mine, my best friend. And while I was in hospital, and she was like, you need to write a book. Like, this is, one day you can do this. So where Azaylia can grow up and read this book and see how brave and strong she was. And obviously that didn't happen, but to allow and do that book and pour that, all that achingness, but it was triggering. I mean, it was hard to go back through every single detail. And when I wrote that book, I wanted it to be in detail of love, emotion, frustration, pain, anxiety, the whole wave of it. And to show how you can still continue at the other end. And now suicide is something that's always been at the front mind of my mind. And I think it's so powerful to see when you read that book that, you know, through that whole journey, you cannot take your life. Children are fighting for their life. People are fighting for their life. People want another day on this earth. And if you're not treasuring your health or your life, then we need to find a different way of how to cope, you know. Then you have to value that. You really have to sit and deeply think of how lucky you are to be still living in this world. And to pour that pain into that book was just, it was crippling. I mean, I was just literally in pajamas writing that book and crying through it all. It's hard. I used to say gentle steps, little steps to get somewhere. Even now, it's like we're 2 years to Azaylia's anniversary in April. Now, people think with time, you heal. And I want to say,
my next question.
You don't ever heal. And if you think you're going to heal from losing your child or your loved one, you're completely wrong. You never heal. People use these terms very lightly, and I find that very painful. Time is a healer. Absolutely not. Time is not a healer, like I say. And then it's like, you know, in time, you'll be able to do this. And you think, no, do you know what? That pain is the same with me now as the day Azaylia took her last breath. So don't dilute my pain, or don't make me feel like I need to dilute anything or compress these feelings and emotions with just little lines that you hear from donkeys years ago of what people say.
And I think that's when someone has not experienced loss and grief. There are kind of a multitude of sayings that people,
because they don't know what to say.
Because they don't know.
It's uneducated. And that's why I speak to people about it, because it's like, you know, don't dilute your pain. Your pain is your pain. No matter whether it's grief pain or whether it's trauma pain, your pain is your pain. And it's how you carry it through differently. So for me, when it comes, we got Mother's Day coming, and like literally, like for both of us, in different situations, my stomach is like, I got knots in my throat.
See like a
Mother's Day, whatever. It's so triggering that I'm like, oh my God, Christmas. When Christmas comes, I'm like, oh my God, the anxiety I felt just this Christmas was just like, get me the hell out of here. I wanted to go to a country where nobody celebrated Christmas. I didn't see everything going on. And I mean, this year, I think I'm going to do that because I was hugely triggered. But it's what I do is how I cope with all of this is I go and make azaleas. I decorate Azaylia's garden in the theme of the moment. So we have Easter coming up now. That's at Easter time. In my head, when I think of Easter, that's when Azaylia was seriously poorly because she passed on the 24th of April. And we had Easter eggs. And I remember opening this one Easter egg and I literally just gave it to her. In hospital, she had to go and have a platelet transfusion, which we rushed her back into hospital for. And I literally just took this Easter egg wrapper off. And I mean, like, she's 8 months old. And I just gave her the Easter egg and she held it in her hands and she's like slobbering all over it. Like, she's really enjoying it. So for me, that's Easter. So then I go down to her resting place, a garden, and I do bunnies and I decorate it in an Easter theme and then leave her Easter egg because I know that that's what she loved. Christmas time, I go and decorate her garden Christmassy. Themes, moments, Mother's Day, I go down there and go and sit with her because it's like, that's her day, you know, for me.
Yeah.
And it's about how you carry these things in, or like at the Christmas dinner, it's like an orange theme. And then we have little pictures of Azaylia on the table, do you know, so we include her in the moments. So when people struggle of how do you cope with losing somebody, include them into your activity.
Yeah, you have to keep them alive.
Keep them alive.
You have to keep their...
Absolutely.
You know, they were people. Like I've spoken to other people about this and they get really annoyed when people make out like that they're they're gone, and like, no, they were here on this earth, and we have to, because I remember for ages, like, everyone was afraid to like say anything to me, and I'd be
People
like,
avoid me in the street.
oh,
still
I
now.
can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. And or like, I'd be doing makeup, and I'd be like, oh, I work out the back of my mom's, and they were like, who owns this house? And I were like, oh, my mom, she passed away. And people are like,
don't know what to say.
oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, bollocks, what am I going to say now? And I'm like, no, for me, it's like I cope by talking
Speaking about
because she was here and she was a person.
She
So
wasn't. She still is here.
and-
like, let's change your mindset already.
I know.
Okay? Like, she's still here. You may not feel her. You may not sense her around you because you're not spiritually connected. But like, I'm not acting like a reader here, by the way, when I'm saying this. But I mean,
Teach
like,
me
your
ways.
mom is always going to be by your side, whether you feel her or not. That's a you thing, but she's there doing that. Okay, that's something you got to figure out.
Yeah.
But like, she's
absolutely.
there, she's with you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And like how it's like that pain that you felt through losing your mom. You now execute it into your podcast. Look, you're here, you're doing something with your grief. Like, fantastic. Yeah. So as much as you're not seeing it, look, you're catapulting yourself into something where it's like, do you know what? Like, you're great at the podcast. So your podcasts are amazing. So do you know what? Actually, I'm feeling like this. I get to talk about it. This is therapy. You don't actually realise. You don't realise it. This is free therapy.
Free therapy.
And do you know, like, even therapy, talking about therapy, it's so expensive to have therapy. And I appreciate that there's such a cost of living out there, do you know, where people can't just go and get therapy. And I didn't take therapy up until the last few months. Now, I was going to go on you can go on a waiting list as well through your doctor. So if there is anybody that wants to get therapy, you can go.
We can't do that here.
Oh, really?
No, not really. Dan, can we do that here?
Okay, guys in England.
Yeah, we got to check that. I don't think we can do that here.
Really? Oh,
no.
okay.
Oh, well, I think, you might get a percent, like maybe 2 or 3.
Oh, wow. See, this is
well,
a big
it wasn't
thing.
offered to me, put it that way. Now, what I
absolutely.
did get, to be fair, was I got counselling through the hospice
okay.
for a year. So, but if my mother had passed in a hospital, I wouldn't have been offered that.
That's crazy.
Do you know that way? That was because I got it through where she had passed. So I'm not too sure how it works, but no, and the reason why I said that is generally you hear of Irish people giving out about how expensive therapy is.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming.
Yeah, do you know, like therapy is expensive. For me, how I looked at it, and this is how people around me very close were amazing to me for how they advised me. And, you know, we invest in car insurance to get us around. We invest in our hair, in our makeup, in our clothes, in our shoes. So if you're able to do that, which I know quite a lot of people aren't able to do that, but the percentage that are, invest that money into your mental well-being. And for me, it was a way when they said that to me, I just thought, do you know what? Like, I need to. And therapy has been the best thing it's enabled me to be able to speak better. It's enabled me to be able to cope with situations better. I mean, just 2 days ago before we came here, me and Abby went to a carvery. And when we went into the carvery place, there was 2 babies where the area that the guy had sat me. And my therapist just helped me by saying, you know, Safiyya, rather than compressing all these things, you know, just speak up and just say, excuse me, would you mind if we could just sit over there? Now, to that other person, I just think I don't want to be a problem, but it's like you don't understand what's going on in here. They're just small things, what you can change and alter, which I wasn't doing. I was compressing it all. Then I would end up just being in a situation where I'm erratically doing things and people around me are thinking, what's wrong with her? And I'm like, you don't understand the compressions that I have in here, and therapies help me do that. And I mean, if you can, I honestly just really recommend it.
Yeah, it worked for me to to a point, and that's just my honest journey with it. It worked for me to a point with talk therapy. I think because I became too good at what's the word, reciting what I felt I should be saying. So for me, what I've done actually is I've like purposely taken a break from it, and I want to live in my grief.
Yes, that's so important.
You know, I want to live in it.
We did it the opposite way around. I lived in my grief and then I had therapy.
Yeah, whereas I did it, like we did it pretty much straight off the bat. I think it was like maybe two months later.
Oh, wow.
They won't see you for, they say like, you know, don't do it straight away. So we did it about 2 or 3 months after, and it worked brilliant for a time. And then it got to a point where I was like, it was actually making me more anxious
to have
therapy. And then I had to say to myself, okay, now I need to find another way. So like for me now at the minute, it's walking. It's so funny in all my life. Like I always come back to this, is like, even last night Scott came in and the anxiety was like, you know, that erratic where you're like I get really affected by sound. Like the telly's on inside, Avery's talking, just shut up everyone, like, and I explode. And I was like, I gotta go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like, and then I went for a walk, and I felt how I felt, and I came home like in my head rested and calmer, you know, that way. So I do agree. I absolutely agree that therapy is amazing. And then that it's okay to know when
to stop
if you don't need it as well. Because there's so many different types of therapy that people don't even realize.
Definitely. I mean, I had somebody that it took me like, I tried one person, didn't connect, and I thought,
yeah.
Second person didn't connect, and I just thought, the second person, I kind of threw the towel in. I just thought, people around me are trying to get me to have therapy, and like I'm trying and I just can't connect. And I'm just thinking, I felt like I was educating them more than what I was getting back. Like, what am I getting back? I'm here. Like, couldn't do it. Third person, like literally, she's really helped save me.
Yeah, because even that piece of advice, like to not compress, and that's why it's so important. And I always say this. I said it when I was a trainer in Mac. I say it to Avery now. You don't know what's going on with people. So when we meet people in restaurants, or you're shopping on a makeup counter, is like to just be, and I hate that, you know, hashtag be kind, but be kind.
Oh no, I love it. I love it. No, you feel like maybe you don't hate it. Maybe you just think it's very cliche.
Yeah. I just think we all just like, you know, it got thrown around a little bit too much for me, but the essence diluted of it, the essence of it is so important, because like that, you don't want to be the person who's like to the waiter will say, is like, sorry, I just don't want to sit here, but actually that's not it at all.
Yeah,
and there's a much deeper reason why you don't want to sit there. Yeah, and that's not for that person to judge that, you know, that way.
To explain yourself in those situations.
So what, I suppose, do you look to the future now, or do you try to just take it, like not think too far ahead and take things day by day?
So I'm in a very different spot right now. And I've learned to take things differently. My auntie passed away.
So sorry.
Not long ago. And it was something that she said. So I experienced this is another time spiritual. So my auntie basically was on end of life. And then I had a conversation with her on FaceTime. And in FaceTime, she told me that the first thing that she was going to do, and this is the first person I've spoke with, the first thing that she was going to do was go and make sure Azaylia was okay. Now, we don't know what time or what moment you're going to pass. 1 day, 2 days, end of life, next hour. It could be the next day. It could be 2 days. It could be a week later. You don't know. But that's what she told me. And she also lost a sibling when she was younger. So she said she was going to make sure that both of them were okay. That's the first thing that she's going to do. Now, I went to sleep that night, and when I woke up in the morning, I didn't open my eyes, and I felt like I was subconscious, when you've not really woke up yet. I was just kind of like in this
that
blur.
in between.
And I just remember feeling this pressure on my left side. And it was just like, Azaylia is okay. Now, I hadn't opened my eyes after that phone call the night before. And then I opened my eyes, I looked at my phone, my auntie had passed. So I didn't even know that she'd passed.
That she'd passed, and you felt that.
I felt this, everything's okay, she's good. And from that moment, I've lived differently. And that's because I feel like I've had reassurance that Azaylia is looked after and she's okay. And there is another side of this place that's temporary. And I live differently now because I'm enjoying moments. I'm not happy because I'm never going to be happy. I'm never excited. I'm never truly excited. You'll see a smile, you'll see me laughing. I'm enjoying moments or being in the moment now rather than putting too much pressure on myself to think, oh my God, I'm going to have a happy future, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like, absolutely not. I'm never going to be truly the...
It's okay. It's okay.
The mother that I wanted to be. I just have to do it in a different way.
I just want to give you a big hug. Like, I can't reach.
It's fine. I just have to live in a completely different way. Now, if I didn't have my mindset of being able to live in this way that I do, then I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Your strength it's unmatched, like to feel how you're feeling and to gone through what you've gone through. It's such an inspiration to other people. Like, you've talked about not wanting to be here and how you've gotten through that. There will be people listening to this today who are in that same position, and you'll give them even an inch. I mean, you've inspired me today. Like, I got to go sort my spiritual life out after this. I got to go meditate some shit for, go do a silent retreat or something for 10 days. But that's what I'm saying. That's the effect that it has, and it is, those comforts are,
and like for you
amazing.
As well, for this spiritual way, it's like my brother. Right, honestly, he'd just laugh at me and think I was bonkers. My auntie that passed, she's very spiritual, but she knew I was too.
Yeah.
And that's why when I felt that before opening my eyes,
well,
I
they
just
say
thought
you have to be open to it.
You have to be open to it to receive it.
Yeah.
And now when you're closed off, my brother now, after Azaylia has passed and everything that he's seen first-handed, he has been blown away. Now, my brother is somebody that's like, he's like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
And even now he has more of an open mind to that. Now, if you don't feel somebody's presence with you after they pass, that's okay. It's about the things that you do around to hold them with you, because they are there. It's just you don't have that. We have different blocks and different chakras that we're just not aware to, but they're there. So carry them with you in the way that only you can do, whether it's their favourite smell or a flower or something. And also materialistic stuff used to bother me. I needed to hold something that was Azaylia's. I started to become really obsessive that I needed that. Now, I had Azaylia's tattoo to me. I mean, it's a big tattoo, and I had it tattooed to me because I needed to see her.
Yeah,
I needed to keep checking on her. So it was like, it was my way of like keep checking on her, and so I got my tattoo.
Yeah.
And now if you asked me to get a big tattoo across my arm, it would never have happened before. But carrying somebody with you in a way that only you can carry them with you, even if you've got I work with different brands, right? And I do different collections for the Azaylia Foundation. And when I do them with purpose, like I did jewelry. So it's like when you wear something, wear it with a meaning to you. Like if you wear a sweater, I did a sweater and it just had some little angel wings on it and a little diamond. So for me, I created that thinking, Azaylia, diamond, my angel. So it meant something to me. But then you might wear it might have angel wings on it. You're carrying your mum with you. So when you're having a down day, wear something like a sweater, a piece of jewelry, or something that you only can have a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Whether it's a smell, whether it's jewelry, whether it's clothing, whether it's food that you're eating, whether it's their favourite food, Christmas. Even if you don't like their food that they would eat, just make it. Have it at the table. Have it around, knowing that. Do you know what? That's what they really like.
Yeah. Well, we do that. Like if we go anywhere, we always leave like a chair. Like I've been in restaurants. I'm like, can you bring an extra chair? And they're like, oh, is there 5 of you? I'm like, oh no, it's for the spirit of my mother who's passed. And they're like, oh, Rachel, I'll go get you that chair now. Like you do, like I do. And like speaking of tattoos, I got my mum used to help with her pain, make angels and then give them to people. And so me and
you're
my
telling
sister,
me you've not got your mum next to you?
I know. And
come
my
on,
mum
like
was
that's the first place she's gonna go to.
I know. And my mom was spiritual, and it's just I'm just not there yet. And I know I don't panic about it.
Don't panic
because I know that I will be.
There's days now. Don't worry.
Yeah.
There's days, and it can go a period of time, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, like, Azaylia, can you send me a sign? I need this. And there'll be something that I'll be speaking about in time that's kind of currently happening at the moment where it blew my mind. And I'll share that on my social platform in time. Okay. I'm just kind of going through the motions right now with it all. And it's like when I seen a feather just fall down beside me, and then within an hour, something changed. I was blown away. Now, it could be the littlest thing. It could be a colour. It could be the fact that bird just runs across, and then the next minute in your day, something's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put them together. Look for signs as well. And it's like sometimes people really look for signs. Like when I see a feather land on Azaylia's garden, I know that one's for me. And I always get little baby feathers. So I don't get like the big feathers. I always get tiny little baby feathers. And as these years are going on, I'm really interested to see whether the feathers get bigger because she's growing.
Yeah.
Do you know? So it's just things.
You've got an amazing, like an absolutely
my
incredible
imagination
outlook.
is like
no, it's just incredible though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, wouldn't you rather be that way than the latter? Because that would make things a lot harder when you've no belief in anything. Absolutely. And that's why I said I don't panic that I'm not there yet. I know that I will be, but I'm happy to take it slow. I tried to rush my grief last year. I said, get through this and get through that, and then you'll feel better. And then like you've already said, time doesn't heal it.
No.
Time doesn't heal it. It is learning to swing your 2 legs out of the bed in the morning, find your purpose for the day, you know, and make them proud, you know.
Just making them proud. I mean, even to the point where I even have an alarm going off at 10 o'clock every day. Now, if I'm not out of bed, obviously my work is different. So sometimes I could be working 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. But I always have this thing where if I'm not out of bed by 10 o'clock, which most days now I am, at the early stages of my grief, I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Then I started putting an alarm on for 10 o'clock. I've not took that 10 o'clock alarm off. And it's like, now it makes me smile. Like today, I was like smiling. I said to Abby, I was like, oh, my alarm's gone off. Look, and I'm up and I'm out and I'm ready.
Yeah, you've won the day. Yeah.
I've won that day to just get myself up and out. And I don't turn that alarm off purposely because I think it's 10 o'clock alarm. Like I'm up earlier than that now, working and stuff. But
it shows you how far you've come.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I don't turn it off now. So just do little challenges with yourself as well, do you know, of doing tiny little things. Self-care as well, you know, like just take a bath, even if you've got children and, you know, that last half an hour you just want to sit in front of the telly. Do you know what? Just scrap the telly, go sit in the bath and just take that minute, 5 minutes, even if it's 10-minute bath, just literally take that time for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. The words feel like they're not enough to say how grateful I am.
I hear that because I feel like thank you to you as well.
Yeah, honestly, this has been the most amazing conversation, the most realist, you know, just I'm never lost for words. I never shut the fuck up, but I am lost for words. You're an incredible person. I am so grateful for you coming all the way to Dublin to have this conversation. I wish you peace at some point in your life. I'm not going to say happiness and success because I just want peace myself. So I wish you peace and calm for the future. And I do hope our paths cross again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me as well.
No,
you're incredible. Like you actually are somebody that really, really inspires me in what you're doing as well. And like take credit for getting up today, getting out, doing your podcast. We're here. I mean, look, I flew from the UK to come over to Dublin for you because, you know, you're an incredible person and you've just really got everything at your fingertips. So go smash it. Let's go, champ.
Let's go.